Okay, YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Now today, I've got another new Gigapan for you to have a look at, and I strongly recommend that you follow some of the links here to some of the relevant videos that this links to. This links to 2 or 3 videos, and this will make a lot more sense if you see those. But I'm going to give you a quick overview of this. Now, you may have seen some of these things before. This is Sol 571. Road to the Temple. Now, I did a video called Road to the Temple, but I also did a whole series of videos called Row of Statues. There is part 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. The one to watch really is part 1, 2 and 3, which is an actual video here. It's called Row of Statues, parts 1, 2 and 3, Pantheon of Gods. And this goes over some of these, but I've found some more things here that I haven't shown before. And I'm trying to put these all in context and show how close together a lot of these things actually are, and how many there are in this area. It's absolutely littered with skulls and statues and remains, okay, as well as some architecture, some ruined concrete and all sorts of stuff here, okay. There's so much to see. I'm not going to go into great detail about all of it because a lot of it I have covered before, but what I'm going to start with is just to give you a quick overview and then show you some of the new things I've discovered in this area. Now, this is not all of Sol 571, this is just the top back section. And I've got the main part of here, but there's also this part up here, which is actually the top right of the Gigapan here. And so is this. This is the mound, which is over to the top right. And that's the edge of the mound, and you can see this other ridge in the background here. There's loads of stuff on here, but it's out of range, unfortunately. But the new find I'm going to show you straight away is this one. Now, I'm calling this the Mars Prince. Why? Because it looks like he's wearing a crown. Let's get the distance right here. There we are. Get it in the center. You've got this rather strange structure along the top of the head here, and what looks like some kind of jewel or some circular object just here. Now, this to me looks like some kind of helmet or crown that is being worn. I could be wrong. This looks like a statue, but look at the detail. The detail is absolutely amazing. It's a little bit out of focus, so I've tried to sort of darken it a bit here to make it more in focus, because the raw image is pretty good, but it's a fair distance away from the rover, so it's not in great focus, but nothing is in this area actually in focus. But you can actually see, if you look carefully, you can see the eye detail here and eyelid detail. And notice the nose, the bridge of the nose goes right up above the eyebrow area, as it does on other Martians I've found and other statues I've found. This is a trait, okay? This is a common trait in these things. So this was really cool. That's the Mars Prince, I'm calling that one. Amazing. You've got ear detail, very nice eye detail, nose detail, mouth detail, even teeth. You can see teeth sticking through there. And what is possibly a crown, I don't know. It looks a bit like a crown. It's got these parts to it here. And you can see that in the raw image. This looks like it's a crown or some kind of helmet. Right, so that was cool. That's the Mars Prince. Now, you've probably seen this before. It was in Row of Statues Part 1. And basically, this was discovered by Martian in, I think, 2014 or thereabouts. And like her, I thought this was a statue, but it's not. This is actually a Martian. Why do I think that? Well, if you look more carefully, now this time I've done a bit more careful enhancing of this, and if you look at my original video here, I've got it here. I actually called it a statue like Martin did, but actually I've redone this, and if you look carefully around the top of the head here, you can actually see just here brain material. So this is a skull that's been decapitated, possibly before being decapitated, was struck across the head with a sharp or a very large instrument like a sword or an axe or something large, and the scalp is being cleaved straight off the top here, and you can actually see the edge of the skull here coming round up here, and if you look down here you can see this material here. This is the brain almost spilling out over the edge here. There's also some damage here, but if you look really carefully, this also has a strange nose, and the nose ridge, the nasal ridge goes right up above the eyebrows here to the forehead, like that Prince statue I just showed you. Incredible. And I managed to get some eye detail in here as well. If you look carefully, there's shriveled eye detail. Now, you wouldn't get shriveled eye detail and contorted details like this on a statue. This is actually a specimen. In other words, this person was killed probably during the decapitation process, or was killed by having his or her head sculpted here. The top of the head's been completely removed, smashed away, and then was probably decapitated after that, I would imagine. So struck at least twice, possibly 3 times, and the head is just placed and is lying on its side slightly on this kind of slope here. Okay, and there even seems to be like a skull next to it here, which is some kind of animal, like a bird or something, or reptile. So we've got the same sort of ridge on the nose here as we have on the Prince one here. Let's go back a bit. There we are. See, look, it goes above the eyebrows. These are the eyebrows. It goes right up above there. So that was interesting. There is this thing here which looks really odd, a bit like Frankenstein or the Mummy or something. Really crazy looking. This is right at the back of the image. There's this, which I think is a statue. I think I've called it the Olmec-style Statue or something. Very similar to others that I've shown. You can actually see the eye there. Very triangular eye. And quite a flat nose. And broken teeth detail there. The chin's kind of broken away a bit here as well. And you've got quite good ear detail on there as well, on the edge there. That was interesting. There was this one which I've shown before. This is a very strange looking skull or carving, don't know which, with a very square emblem or badge or something on the forehead here. Very interesting. I don't know what that represents. I don't know what it means. It's very, very odd. And you can even see that in the raw image here. And that's not down to pixelation. Okay, that is actually in the image. You can actually see it. It's like a badge almost, just there. See it? It's way bigger than the pixels are, so it's there. And then we have this, which is an ape. This is some kind of chimpanzee type size ape. I'm not saying it is a chimpanzee, but it's that kind of size and it has similarities. You can actually see the cranial ridge here. Many apes, like gorillas and chimpanzees, have a cranial ridge, almost like a mohawk. This is in the bone, on the actual skull itself. And you've even got hair detail on here, it seems. You've got this fuzzy kind of hair detail. But this is a ridge, and I have shown actual skulls without the flesh on and the hair on them with that ridge, that cranial ridge that goes over like a mohawk kind of thing. That's the bone, the bony ridge on the skull itself. Then there was this thing, which I've shown before, obviously, the blue or the grey alien style statue. This is a statue. You can see it here, and then you can see it here. And it's got some incredible detail in it. And unlike the greys that were shown in our sort of folklore and alien sort of mythology, this one has a large mouth with very large teeth, just here. You can see that quite clearly. Let's go a bit closer. There we are. We've got very large almond-shaped eyes, a very small nose with 2 little nostrils, and some very large teeth, like fangs. This looks like it was probably some kind of, well, let's just say it wasn't a vegetarian, and it was possibly quite an aggressive type of alien, okay? I mean, you wouldn't have teeth like that if you were eating couscous and stuff like that, you know, so couscous, tomatoes and red onions. No, you wouldn't be a vegetarian or vegan if you had teeth like that. So that kind of puts aside some of the mythology we have about aliens, I think. And there's actually another statue next to it which is broken just here. So this would have been one of a pair and may represent some kind of deity or being that they either lived there or was prominent on Mars. Who knows? Who knows? Then we have the smiling alien or person. Now, I don't know whether this is a statue or an actual specimen because it's too far away. There's not enough detail, but it does seem to be hair on top. So this may be another mummified head that's just lying there with clear teeth, bright teeth, and a smile. Okay, and hair detailed there. If I zoom in a bit, let's have a look at that. See that? That to me, like the ape skull, seems to have hair detail. You can actually see hair detail on it. It's kind of fuzzy and hairy looking. Okay, just there. So that's probably actually a specimen rather than an actual carved statue. There's also some kind of bird or reptile skull there next to it. Then there was this. This looks to be, now what I think this is a crab. Now it may not seem much, but if you've watched my recent video, I did a Mars huge crab video recently. I did it a month or two ago, a couple of months back, and I think this is a small version of it because that very large crab that I showed, the giant crab or huge crab, has got a head with two eyes and a nose. I'm not saying like a human head, but a head with human-like features, i.e. two eyes and a nose, a long sort of nose ridge, and a sort of human-like head. Now there's almost no detail in this at all, so we can't be sure. But I do wonder whether this is related and is actually the same species, but a very small juvenile of that species, a bit like a hermit crab or lobster type thing. So I will put some clips of that and some of the other things that are similar to these things in at the end of the video for you to look at as well. And there's also this up here, we've got some smashed up concrete slabs here, which are by no means natural. I mean, look at this one here. If you look at the end of it, just here, look at this part on the end. It's absolutely perfectly straight. This is part of a structure that's collapsed. Okay. Now, whether that structure was a building or whether this was a dockside, I think it may have been a dockside, and this may have been, or a road or some kind of concrete structure was here. You can actually see it in the image. It goes right along here to here, and this is the front end or one end of it, and it goes right over to here, and it's all kind of broken up, and there's loads of kind of concrete slabs and parts to it, all kind of smashed up and split in half and broken. But that was the best bit there because you can see that really straight bit there. Okay, that was interesting. So there's loads of stuff to see here, and there was this thing as well. Now this was, I think, initially spotted by Will Ferrar many years ago from What's Up in the Sky 37 channel. Many years ago, probably 4 or 5 years ago, maybe 6, and it looks a bit, at a distance, it looks a bit like a little person waving, but it's not. I was very careful to enhance this bit more carefully, and it's actually like a little sphinx. It's got this kind of triangular part here, which is the body, with what look a bit like feet or some kind of details here, and a head with features, with a sort of flowery kind of pattern around the edge of it. It's very, very strange, and I really don't know what to call it. I think I'd call it the flower sphinx. Really, really strange. But at a glance, when you see it, this looks like an arm sticking out on the right here. Well, on our right, I should say. Just here, but it's not. This is a shadow of something behind it. There's a rock sticking up behind this thing, which we can't see, and it's casting this shadow here, this dark bit sticking out. This is the actual shadow of the thing here. So this shadow is from something over here, which we cannot see. So this is an optical rock illusion, okay? Now, I'm not saying it's a rock. What I'm saying is it looks like someone waving at you or something, or a figure with arms out, but it's not. And if you actually look at the raw image up here, it's up here. At a glance, it looks like a head and a body with an arm sticking up, waving, and another arm sticking out, but it's not. There's loads and loads of little heads here. There's another one here. There's another one here. There's probably another one here and here. So I'll take some clips of that and put it in at the end for you. But a lot of these are really small and a long way off, and you're not really going to see a lot of detail. There's another little one over here. A lot of these are probably heads and things that are kind of broken and eroded, and are really hard to identify. There was this thing here, which is an animal skull, some kind of antelope or sheep or that kind of thing. Not a sheep, but a goat. I don't know. It's that kind of creature. There is a special name for them. I can't remember what it is now. Just here, there's an enhancement over here. Just here. So there's loads of stuff to look at here. There it is. There's the enhancement. You can see the eye. This is the lower jaw coming down here. This is the nasal area, nasal cavity there, and the snout, long kind of snout coming down like this, with hair on top, almost like it's wearing a toupee. Absolutely insane detail. There's no possible way that's just a rock. Absolutely no way. And there's this little tiny thing here, which looks like a little person. Now this is only a few inches in size, right? You've got a neck and a head with a nose and an eye and a mouth, chin, head coming around like this, neck there, and this rather strange thing here. Now this almost looks like he or she is in a sitting position with knees sticking up, but there's almost no detail to see there because it really is absolutely tiny. When you see it in context, I think it's up at the back here somewhere. Where is it? Let me try and work out where it is. It's up the back, up here. There he is. Really small. You can zoom in a bit more by zooming in on your browser like this if you want to get a bit closer. You can see that head with the nose sticking out and what look like knees and legs or something. I don't know what it is. It's probably a figurine, but who knows? We don't really know. So there's loads of stuff to see here. I'm not going to go on too long about this. I'm just going to show you that a couple of these things in my graphics software here, because we get a little bit closer and it should look a bit sharper on here as well. Let's have a look at that. Prince, the new Prince head or statue. The Prince of Mars, here he is. Look at these eyes. Look at the detail here. Absolutely insane. The level of detail in there. Imagine what we would get if this was in focus. This is an out of focus landscape photograph, okay? This is why everything looks in soft focus. It's because it's in landscape setting. This means that the rover can just take hundreds and hundreds of photos every day without having to individually focus on separate things, which means everything is slightly out of focus. But what it means is, on the Gigapan, is that things that at the bottom of the Gigapan, down here, are out of focus slightly, and things right at the back are out of focus slightly as well. But it means that everything is sort of in focus, which means you can see things further away as well as the things that are close up. Now, if the camera was to focus on these things down here, then everything else would be completely blurred. You wouldn't be able to see it at all, hardly. It would just be a mess. This is why they use the landscape setting for taking these photos, because that's what it's doing. Taking photos of the landscape, so everything looks a little bit soft focus and a bit fuzzy. This is that large head, and this video I actually removed the rock behind it to make it so we could see the outline better. But I actually thought this was a statue, but now I've done it again, as I'm going to show you now. You can actually see, I'm going to outline it for you, you can actually see the skull here. So the head would have come up like this. It would have been much bigger, or at least as big as this, right? That's how big the head would have been. And this part, this jagged bit, is the edge of the skull here, and it comes round like that. You can see the jagged parts to there, right? And if I get rid of that, you can actually see here, in this area, a brain, or part of the brain with some brain detail with the little squiggly lines that you get and shapes in there, okay? That's a brain. So this man or woman, don't know which, was killed with a head injury, then decapitated, and the head was placed here, and may have been stood up more than this at one stage. So what this does indicate, as I've said for many years, is that I think a lot of these were placed where they are. They weren't just left there. They were placed, and they've been ritually arranged in certain areas along the bottom of these ridge lines and placed in a row, okay? And you have rows of statues interdispersed with rows of skulls and mummies, okay? Now, some of the mummies were actual burials, but a lot of them were decapitated and placed in a row along the edge of these ridge lines, like we have in here, like we have on here. Let's go back to that a minute. These ridge lines are littered with these, okay? There's dozens and dozens of them. I've only shown the larger ones here. There are absolutely probably hundreds in this area, but I'm only showing the ones we can see. There are loads of smaller ones which are just out of range. There's some up here. This is probably one here. There's loads and loads of little ones up here as well. And they're not all just animals that have died and had their bodies removed by predators, as I suggested. A lot of them are, but a lot of them have been ritually positioned by somebody and placed in a row. These are all in a sort of group here. And we have another one here at the bottom, and they're often at the bottom of these ridges, okay? There's one on the top of the ridge here. And the larger ones are placed in prominent positions where they can be seen, like this one. This is really large. This is way bigger than a human head. It's 2 or 3 times the size. This person, I estimate, could have been 10, 12 plus feet tall, this one. And I'm not saying it's a guy or a girl, but it could be either. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. The fact is, it's a person, and there's broken skulls and all sorts of stuff here as well. I'm sure more of these are skulls, but I can't really recognise a lot of them because they're badly sort of broken up and eroded. And we have this is a typical example where you would have a row of statues, but only one of them is still intact. This one here, with the almond-shaped eyes, and there was another matching one next to it. This could have been a king and a queen for all we know, right? And there seems to be other ones here. This one looks like one. Let's go a bit closer, just here. This looks a bit like a broken statue here. You can see a nose and a mouth and 2 eyes, but it's all smashed up. So I would imagine there would have been a row of 5 or 6 statues here, looking outwards. And then we have all these other ones. There's a statue here, right, looking out the other way, looking this way. And then we have that one with the square on it there. They're all over the place. So we have a mixture of things. We have a mixture of statues in rows. Then we have groups or rows of actual mummies that were probably buried next to these statues, because these were like burial mounds with statues and stuff lined up in front of them, some of them. Okay, structures, actual structures, burial dolmens and burial mounds and tombs, that kind of thing, mausoleums, okay? And we would have rows of statues, and then interdispersed underneath that, in the ground, you'd have people buried. But of course the erosion has blown away the sand and material and revealed some of these skulls and things lying around. But also on top of that, of course, because the area was an actual lake kind of oasis, you would have had predator animals coming to the area and digging things up, looking for food, and possibly finding mummies and taking their bones and body parts away to eat, leaving the skulls behind because the skull has the least meat on it. and is also very awkward to carry. So that explains a lot of these things. And basically there are rows and rows of these things, all in the same area. And this is one of the best Gigapans that demonstrates this, what is no longer a theory. I've actually proven this now, I think. It's not just a theory, it's not just a hypothesis now. This is proof. This is evidence of not only people on Mars, but multiple species of animals, including apes and all types of other things like antelopes and goats and cats and dogs and all sorts. I mean, reptiles, probably amphibians as well. There have been things like frogs and things found as well in the area, mummified frogs and stuff. So there was everything from amphibians to reptiles to mammals to birds, dinosaurs, apes, you name it, it was there. Not only that, we have multiple types of alien or Martian cultures. Some were very large, 12, 15 foot tall, 10 feet tall, whatever. Some were really small, only about a foot tall, and some were in between. There was at least 5 or 6 types, I think now, of Martian races or main civilizations on Mars. Now, 1 or 2 of them may have come from Earth, or vice versa, or may have come from elsewhere, which may explain why we have what look like sort of very large, kind of quasi-human looking skulls like this one. And then we have very, very crazy looking, very alien looking ones like this here, the blue or grey with the massive teeth and the huge almond eyes. Now, did this come from another planet? Quite possibly. But this one probably didn't. This didn't. These are all over the place. I found dozens of these. Apes and monkeys and stuff. That's weird, don't know what that is. This looks like almost kind of Mesoamerican style kind of carved head here. Very Olmec or Mayan looking in its actual styling. Very similar to some that I've shown before. And you can link here to some videos that will show very similar ones as well. And then we have this, which almost looks kind of Egyptian or like that, like an Atlantean or Egyptian, ancient Egyptian. The prince. Like many of the other statues I found, they do look quite Egyptian as well. So we've got different styles here. These are probably different cultures. And the difference in actual quality of the artwork, you can see right here. Now that says to me that this culture on the left is a different culture from this one on the right. Now that doesn't mean that these were better or worse than each other, apart from the actual quality of the artwork itself. This is on par with a Nefertiti kind of statue like you would see in the Cairo Museum in Egypt. This is stunning. This is stunning artwork. Absolutely stunning. Now, I know we can't see it in amazing detail because it's a little bit slightly out of focus, but you can see it. Look how smooth and perfect it is. It's absolutely incredible. And then we go here and we have a much possibly older culture here with a much more crude and robust sort of almost round sort of head shape, like a lot of the Olmec statues are. The Olmec heads are very round, although it's got a flat top on the head. And sort of a very triangular, crude looking, almost gargoyle looking look to it. This says to me that there are at least 2 stages to the pyramid building culture here. There was the more possibly much earlier culture here, probably building sort of more crude sort of step pyramids and with more grotesque and outlandish looking statues like this one, like you have in Central America. And then you have highly sophisticated artwork like this, like you have in Egypt, where you have much larger or much more advanced, not only architecture, but artwork. and statuary and carvings and art and probably literature and everything that goes with it, architecture and science and astronomy and that kind of thing. This dictates to me that this was a later culture than this, possibly by 1,000 years or two. One could have developed into the other. So we don't really know, but it really does show that these things are all together and mixed up and jumbled up. So there were multiple cultures living in this area, not necessarily all at the same time. One may have replaced the other, or developed into the other, or mixed with other cultures and then became more advanced. But conversely, they may have regressed and actually built the more sophisticated stuff earlier on and actually regressed into a less advanced society. Like the giant pyramids in Egypt, which were actually much older than the smaller ones and much larger and much more sophisticated. The later ones were pale imitations. So we've got different cultures here with different styles of art in the same area, and we even have a very large Martian head which is being sculpted, and the brains are almost hanging out the edge here. And you've got the screwed up, shriveled up face detail here, which is contorted as it's dried out. You've got teeth detail here. You can actually see the pointed teeth there. Upward, there, as I've shown before, the skulls, a lot of them have upward facing nasal cavities, which means they have a reverse nasal cavity. Ours goes in almost a triangular shape like this. This would have gone up the other way, like the skulls I've shown before, some of them, the very large ones. So this is one of those very large Martians, somewhere between 10 and 18 feet tall, I estimate some of these to be, okay? Massive. I'm not saying this one is, but some of them are really, really huge. So it's another example of an actual very large Martian. So there we are. And as for this dude, who knows? Absolutely insane looking dude, this one. I'd like to mess with him, assuming it's a him. So thanks for watching, everybody. I'll leave it there. I mean, I could go on for hours and hours chatting about these things, but basically you can see that brain detail hanging out here. You can see the brain there. It's right there. And you can see the edge of the skull quite clearly. Comes up like that. It's all kind of jagged and broken. So this person was killed and then decapitated and then the head placed here or left on display, either as a mark of respect or as a warning to passers-by. So there we are, and there's the smiling dude with the hair. You've got the hair up here. This is a mummy, right? I don't think that's a statue. This is obviously a statue. Ape, not sure about this. Who knows what's going on there, but you can see that square emblem right there. Very, very strange. Okay. Then we have this with a very triangular looking eye. Olmec or kind of Mayan looking. And this almost looks Egyptian and very sophisticated and stunningly carved. Possibly made of clay, actually, moulded in clay and then finished afterwards. Who knows? Could this be a mummy? It is possible, but I would say that these details here, to me, look like a crown. And I think the crown may have come sort of around here like this. And we've got that round thing there, which is probably a jewel, like a diamond or possibly something like that. It's very reflective. So who knows? Who knows? But notice the nose ridge coming up here, like I said. It comes right up to there, right? As it does on this one. Nose ridge comes all the way up to there, right? Matching features. So there we are. And I have shown other statues and specimens as well with this feature. The nose goes right up above the eyes here. You've got the eyes like that. Look at that eye detail. Unbelievable. I was absolutely blown away when I found this the other day. I found this as I was working on the Gigapan. So that's it for today. I could go on and on about this, but that's long enough. Check out the Gigapan. You can zoom in, you can take clips yourself. There'll be links to all the different relevant videos and raw images and everything else. And I'll put some of these clips in at the end for you to have a really good look at and compare. And you can take screenshots and stuff. And thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. I shall see you soon.